It's Teacher Appreciation Week, and we want to thank all of our Klein ISD educators who work tirelessly to help our students reach their full potential. Teachers directly impact the lives of our students every day, and so defining high-quality teaching is crucial. Everything we do is about every student in Klein ISD entering with a promise and exiting with a purpose. And to that end, we spent the last couple of weeks talking about the profile of a learner and leader guiding documents. Today, we'll focus on our third guiding document, our definition of high-quality teaching. Our thanks to the many educators and community members who provided input on this shared definition. Let's take a look. High-quality teaching supports the development of the profile of a learner by being relationship-driven, results-focused, intentionally personalized, and student-owned. Each of these strands is further clarified, so I wanted you to hear from one of our educators as we delve into the thoughtful details of this document. Joining me now is Kathy Vergara, one of our amazing bilingual educators. Welcome, Kathy. We're glad to have you today.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Now, we're talking about this definition of high-quality teaching, and you were part of the design team for that, right?
Yes, that's correct. I was able to collaborate with educators from across the district, and we were able to design a document that described what high-quality teaching looked like. We used some guiding documents that are currently in place for profile of a learner and profile of a leader, and we wanted to align it to that. We also looked at what high quality teaching looked across the world and looked at research, and so
right. So research based from across the world and locally based in terms of local educators looking at the profile of a learner, because I know y'all are very careful to align to that profile of a learner, that the whole idea is you support the profile of a learner.
That's exactly right. We wanted it to be sort of a cause and effect, if you will, and so we wanted to make sure that it was fully aligned, that we were supporting that role.
Great, that's great. So I want to start with this idea of intentionally personalizing learning and tailoring it for every student's strengths, needs, and passions. What does that look like in a classroom?
Well, in my classroom, for instance, I started with relationships. I feel like that is the foundation of everything. As you're building relationships, your students start to trust you, and they're willing to take more risks as they trust you. And so you're able to really get to know them and also what motivates them, and using that as a leverage for having a positive learning experience.
That's great.
From getting to know my students, I also use the learning experiences to motivate them, and also to personalize learning and make sure that I delved into their passions and what they were interested in. I feel like it went beyond the engagement piece and really empowered their learning so they can own it. We did things like Minecraft and created dimensions so they can really demonstrate mastery of landforms, or created student-generated videos. So they were really looking into other ways of exploring what they learned, basically.
So what I hear you say is this personalized piece really led into students owning their learning.
Absolutely.
And that's part of the whole notion of student agency. And we had some conversation around, do we include student agency or not? Talk a little bit about what that means.
Sure. Well, student agency is basically building the autonomy for students.
All right.
And as educators, our role is to give them those choices and the voice for them to actually explore that in various ways with creativity, technology, etc. But really our job is to really find those passions for them.
Right.
I think back to when I was in college, and I remember the latter part is where I was mostly engaged, because those were my major courses. I was really invested in that. And that's where that student ownership comes in, is the investment of the learning. And if I'm owning it, I'm invested, I'm going to do the best that I can. And that's really what we're trying to strive for our students.
That's great. So that notion of, we talk about voice and choice is so critical in a high quality teaching environment.
Absolutely.
Okay, great. Well, now, one of the things that I know there was a lot of conversation around on your team was about being results driven. And that's, we want to be real careful to say that isn't just all about standardized testing.
Absolutely. Results-driven can sometimes have a negative connotation just because of the world that we've lived in, but in reality, it's us using it as a guide or a map for us to grow our students. For instance, I need to know where I need to take my student, where he or she is, and then how I'm going to get there. And that includes setting goals, action steps, and then just having a time to reflect on their learning, and not just their learning, but just building the entire whole child, whether it's their character piece or anything.
Sure, and so if we're talking character and such, then I mean that's not a standardized test.
No,
So
absolutely
there
not.
we could be results driven toward high quality character, for example.
Exactly, and really we can look at results driven in a various amount of ways. We can look at both qualitative and quantitative methods, and so we can look at digital portfolios that follow students from K through 12 to look at their growth. We can also look at conferencing, so it does not only have to mean a standardized test taken once a year.
That's terrific. Well, Kathy, thank you so much for being here. I so appreciate it. And one of the things that Kathy talked about is this notion of relationship building.
Yes.
And what's incredible, each person I've talked to around these guiding documents, you won't find this surprising, has talked about the power and importance of building relationships as being critical to all of this. We know James Comer says that no significant learning can occur without a significant relationship, which is why relationship building is a key to all of these things we're trying to do. And so thank you for your time and investing in, for all of us here in Klein ISD, this particular guiding document. And before we go, I want to take a moment to celebrate Klein's inclusion in the Holdsworth Center Leadership Inaugural Cohort. We look forward to this partnership and to developing even stronger Klein leaders who ultimately will lead to even more success for our students. That's Klein ISD for this week. Next week, we'll try to keep the topic to 90 seconds. See you then.